Welcome to Mindshock. Oops, that intro had true crime on it. Are we about to discuss crimes within Flat Earth discussion? I am, of course, your host, Bruce McGuire, and this is Mindshock, where we logically discuss any and all topics. We are under the Flat Earth umbrella today for the Flat Earth Live Q&A 9th edition. Haven't done one of these in a while. I do want to discuss a very important point because people have kind of been using Mindshock almost like as if to logically show that the flat earth position is true, as opposed to, I mean, obviously not everybody, but on social media, on Twitter, here and there, as opposed to just simply point out the issues with the mainstream scientism, quackademic, institutional positions, which is what this is really for. And kind of the main point of everything I do. So I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about that. As always, if you enjoy the Mindshock podcast, want to help logic and reason return to a world where it's quickly going extinct, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share. Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcast, or requests. You could also be a guest on the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. Unless, of course, you're with us here live. Drop them in the live chat. I'll try to get to each and every one of them. Welcome, Run Boston Bear and Bill. Yeah, I'll let the listeners kind of take it away first. See what kind of questions we can go over that have not yet been gone over. I mean, a lot of flat Earth stuff has been discussed ad nauseum at this point. I mean, I don't know if there's any new flat Earth debates that have been posted about. Obviously, we have some older ones we still need to go over and finish up. Schedule's been a bit hectic here, kind of, but yeah, Flat Earth Live Q&A was requested a while back, and there hasn't been one in a while. So now's a good time. So let's see what what happens here. Welcome, Sam. So if nobody has a question off the bat, I'll go over what I was going to go over. The point of Mindshock, the examination of all topics with logic and reason at the forefront, attempting not to commit any logical fallacies, unlike anything out there in the mainstream and even not in the mainstream. A strict adherence to logic and reason, unlike anything, anywhere, ever. That is the purpose of Mindshock. It is not to point to any conclusion regardless of topic, so that includes the shape of the Earth. So I did want to spend a little bit of time on that, because I have seen people on social media just pointing out Mindshock logical analyses, and look how dumb the globe earthers are. Obviously the Earth is flat. That is not the purpose of any of the logical analysis. I repeat this ad nauseum. It's not about the conclusion. I am only looking at the argumentation. That is it. That is all. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean I don't care about the shape of the Earth or I think it's unimportant. I've discussed this many times. It's that we don't have the variables necessary to draw the conclusions. If you do not know the true layout of this realm, regardless of what shape it is, you do not have the variables required to understand what it means when you look at the sky from one position versus another position, if you don't know the positions in relation to each other and the rest of the layout of the realm. Like, is that really that hard to understand? Because there's all these Dunning-Kruger goofs, all these scientism, globe earther cultists, some flat earthers as well, but mostly the globe earther goofs. They have a fundamental failure in being unable to comprehend these preschool level basics, and then they have multi-day meltdowns and cope spirals on Twitter over their inability, and obviously they're too mentally weak and narcissistic to even confront their mental deficiency. So then they have to pretend pointing out the deficiency is nothing but an insult or whatever, and it has nothing to do with anything, when actually it's the main issue in preventing them from understanding something and having a meaningful dialogue. So they'll just continue cope spiraling forever. So that's the kind of the main issue. That's the main issue there. And I do think it's curious that it is this difficult to figure out the shape of the Earth. Like, that's something globe earthers, scientism cultists, bootlickers, like, the mental capacity's just not there for them to just look at, wait a second, if you're actually adhering to the scientific method and not spamming logical fallacies, it actually is kind of difficult. It's pretty difficult to figure out the shape of the Earth. But they just don't have that mental wherewithal. They don't have the mental strength or wherewithal to even address that concept. So in that sense, it is a waste of time trying to have good faith discussion with goofs who are too mentally weak or don't have the mental capacity. Just like this example, I bring it up all the time. If a toddler runs up to you, starts kicking your shin, and demanding you enter the boxing ring with them to go 15 rounds full contact, and then saying you're scared when you refuse, like, that's the level of goofery people like Craig of Fight the Flat Earth, Soy Lodge, like, all these goofs, these random goofs on Twitter, that's what they bring to the table, but they don't have the mental capacity or awareness to even understand what the situation looks like objectively from the side for any logical individual, and then they can only cry and melt down and pretend people are afraid of getting in the ring with them. Sam says, refreshing perspective. Both echo chambers are pretty toxic. Run Boston Bear says, Bruce, have you looked into the celestial theodolite details presented by Dr. Heffron Allen from Space Audits? I do not think so. Let me... I believe you might have brought it up before. Let me see what we got here. Can you drop a link? You're, yeah, you got a wrench. You could drop a link in the chat here, Run Boston Bear. I just searched it. It's given just, obviously, YouTube, so let's see here. I see a lot of ether stuff. Okay. Celestial theodolite. There's a video here. I see Ether Round Table 56, Momentum of the Luminiferous Ether by Dr. Mike Heffron. Other Ether Round Table. That's all I see on YouTube. Okay, drop the link here. Okay, that's just the link to the channel. Yeah, that's where I was. Is there a specific... So you want the recap? There's a theodolite recap overview, 3.5 hours. Do people want to go over this? Let's see if there's an original, if there's a link to the video. What does everybody want to go over? If you guys want to go over that, we could just start going over that. Stephen Brandon says, go check it out. Very compelling. Bill says, honestly, I can think of very few flat earth individuals I would call toxic. Not that there aren't any, but to me, almost all globers are. Well, the one thing you have to, anybody who's objective in any way has to give credit to the mental strength of flat earthers, because flat earthers have admitted to themselves, whether they're right or wrong, they had the mental strength to admit that what they believed was wrong. Whereas scientism cultists, bootlickers, like the mental weakness, prevents them from even considering the possibility that institutions are wrong. You know, typical coincidence theorist coping mechanisms where they need that safety blanket of governments and institutions to tell them what to believe, and the inability to consider that could all be wrong. So that's one of the main issues there. So flat earthers are obviously a step ahead of the game, even if they're wrong. Where globe earthers, I mean, they're so stuck in their mental weakness. Now, again, if they argued logically, that wouldn't necessarily matter, but they don't do that either. So, okay. So, do you guys want to go over this? We can go over this. I don't believe I have seen anything about this before. So this will be a blind analysis. I mean, I'll just go over it a little bit here and there. I don't want to spend, you know, and the Q&As, I don't want to make it about one thing the whole time, because it's not really like a chill stream Q&A. But we can go over it for a little bit, and then perhaps I'll do a deep dive on it later. Run Boston Bear says a deep dive would be great. I'm kind of curious, though, so we can go over a little bit here. So I am a little bit curious about this. That's the thing, too, like coincidence theorists, authority worshipping cultists, quackademics, they're not really curious. Like, they're not scientific method curious, where they utilize controls. They're mostly looking to reaffirm their faith-based belief systems in the world because they need their safety blankie. They need their blankie. Yeah, it's going to take a couple minutes for me to get this. Is a 3.5 hour video, so it's going to take me a couple minutes to load it over here. But, yeah, so we can go over like a couple other things first, and then we'll take a look at this. Joe Wright says, only a few toxic flat earthers. Fittest flat earther, for example, that dude believes the freckles are birthmarks. He took the news of our realm way too hard and has literally gone bat expletive crazy. Catch you next time, Stephen Brandon. Some people say to watch out with people with 2 first names. I don't know when that started, but I've seen a few movies and TV shows where people make comments about people who have 2 first names can't be trusted. That just reminded me, Stephen Brandon. Salt says, what about 2 last name? Those are good. Maybe. I've never heard anything about that. Like, what do you mean, like Johnson Johnson? What else? What else would be 2 last names? Smith. Smith is an interesting first name. I've known a couple of Smiths as a first name. That's always interesting. I've never known a Smith, though. That would be interesting. Or a Smithy. That'd be kind of funny. All right. Any other flat earth questions? Going to take another probably 2-3 more minutes before I can get this recap overview going. So we can go over at least one more question before we get to that. Droopy Beat says Preston Williamson. Yeah, I haven't seen anything about being warned about people with 2 last names, but 2 first names, yes. 2 first names, yes. Any other flat Earth questions? Let's see. Yep, a couple more minutes. Nobody? Bueller? Bueller? We got like 20 people in here so far. Bueller? Nobody? No flat Earth questions? But for people just getting here, yeah, one of the main points I did want to go over is the point of Mindshock is not to draw conclusions, it's to examine argumentation and logically analyze any and all topics for veracity, not with the purpose of immediately jumping to a conclusion or claiming something is or isn't the truth. Of course, the motto here is the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. Bill says, when we have no evidence of curvature or motion, how can there be an honest claim for either? There cannot. There cannot. But that doesn't necessarily relate to shape per se. For example, if it's all some kind of weird projection, I mean, yeah, I guess you could say that it could be a planar projection. Could be a globe much, much larger. It also could be like one, I've never heard, I don't believe I've heard anybody go with this theory. But what about a convex lens? Like, let's say there is a little bit of curvature. How do we know it's not some giant plane with a convex curving surface that's not a globe? And obviously, globe earthers, like, they don't have the mental capacity to even consider that because they're too busy spamming false dichotomy logical fallacies. Welcome, Flat Bob. Yeah, I am not claiming there is curvature. I'm not claiming there is motion. Now, again, those making the claims must back them up. That's the, obviously, we're not going to fall for shifting the burden of proof logical fallacies. All right, let's get, okay, yep, we're going to get the celestial theodolite recap going here. Let's see. Let me get this organized for a deep dive later. And we'll do a brief overview here. So let's get rockin' here. Welcome, Shalom Shire Farm. So this is from Space Audits.
Lurked in the
This was replicated, 100 more times, 200 more times in total, and documented really well, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I just want to say, I will beat anybody's price on a CT, or your CT is free.
Hey, well, we're gonna. Are we talking where to buy a celestial theodolite?
Yeah.
Funny story, lads. Turns out you build celestial theodolites, and that's what we're gonna learn how to do. We're gonna go over the methodology and the measurement here. We're gonna talk its significance. I'm gonna try and get through it as quickly as possible because I want Ruhif to be able to chime in here. Ru, how much time you got, buddy? You got like 45 minutes? Oh wait, I can't hear you. Hold on one
Would only go for 15, but I'll try and listen in anyway.
You said 15 minutes.
It's got 50. It's like 15 minutes total.
Oh, well, after in half an hour, I should be available. We'll see.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you can come back to it then. Okay. No worries.
Yeah.
All right then. Okay, so guys, where do I buy a celestial theodolite? Does anyone know? Anyone know where to get one? Is it Walmart? Amazon?
Toys R Us.
I got mine on
I-
Amazon.
I
Someone
think I
said-
got offered one in an alley one time.
Someone here mentioned Toys R Us. I was going to ask for the link if
Yeah, you can get a coupon online for one at Toys R Us.
Yeah, that one was time dilated back to the 80s, though. Anyway.
All right, let's tune in.
All right, lads. So to give an overview now, I think everyone on the globe side would agree that this should be replicated in other locations at different distances with different stars, etc., so that we can establish whether or not this is a once in a lifetime localized, one in a godzillion, trillion, billion phenomenon that just happens at this one particular location, or if this is something that can be replicated for everyone and showing that the implication is, geometrically speaking, that the Earth is flat. So how does one go about obtaining a celestial theodolite? So you start with a couple of things here. It's a little process. We got a checklist for you and some resources to use to gather the necessary information so that you can input the information yourself and figure out what stars that you will be being occluded by objects near you, and so that you can make your
So let's take a step back here, just as a basic intro here on theodolites. Precision optical instruments for measuring angles between designated visible points in the horizontal and vertical planes. The traditional use has been for land surveying, but it also used extensively for building and infrastructure construction, and some specialized applications such as meteorology and rocket launching. It consists of a movable telescope mounted so it can rotate around horizontal and vertical axes and provide angular readouts. These indicate the orientation of the telescope and are used to relate the first points sighted through the telescope to subsequent sightings of other points from the other theodolite positions. Depending on the instrument, these angles can be measured with accuracies down to micro radians or seconds of arc. From these readings, a plane can be drawn or objects can be positioned in accordance with an existing plan. The modern theodolite has evolved into what is known as a total station, where angles and distances are measured electronically and are read directly to computer memory. A transit theodolite has a telescope short enough to rotate about the instrument's horizontal trunnion axis, turning the scope through vertical plane and its zenith. Vertical rotation in non-transit instruments is restricted to a limited arc. The optical level is sometimes mistaken for a theodolite, but it does not measure vertical angles and is only for leveling on a horizontal plane, though often combined with medium accuracy horizontal range and direction measurements. So this seems kind of relevant to measuring stuff on a realm. Let me catch up with some comments here. Salt says, if you're trying to figure out what's under 12 kilometers underground, could use seismographs or radar be evidence for anything if you want to deduce what's underground without actually digging? Yeah. Just had a guy telling me you could do that. Yeah, you could do that. What are you getting at, though? Like, what's the point or context there? Like, yeah, you could see what's underwater, too, without directly diving underwater, to an extent, obviously. Oh, Bill says, I think GPR failed in the Kola borehole dig. Wasn't reliable to my knowledge. Yeah, so depending on the materials, it may or may not be reliable, correct. Now, for example, a lot of radar is accurate underwater, but yeah, when you're dealing with other substances, minerals, etc., that would definitely affect accuracy for sure, especially the further you go. Run Boston Bear says, Bruce, you will enjoy it. It takes refraction and perspective out of the equation. Shalom Shire Farm knows way more about the details. Enjoy the process of grasping exactly what's going on here. Yeah, this seems very relevant to the shape of the realm. Salt says the guy was claiming molten rock in the middle of the earth. Oh, okay. So there's clearly temperature fluctuations. I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously the further you go, the less accurate it could potentially be. And they've never dug deep enough to actually assess the accuracy gradient, so to speak.
Your own measurements and when they'll be occluded. So we're going to use Mike's example to start us off with because he already gave us all the hard part. But I'll walk you through what it looks like to do the hard part anyway. But anyway, to start us off, we're going to have our observer latitude, longitude coordinates. So that you can get that, however, GPS coordinates, an app on your phone, etc. You can look it up. Doesn't matter. As long as you know where your lat long is, where you're making your observation. Then you have your mountain peak or whatever physical obstruction that you're going to be using. I recently tried to use a building obstruction, but I don't think that's going to work out or be significant. I don't think anyone would take significance on that. I think the mountain peak measurements give a better angle and better discrepancy between flat and globe predictions so far. So we'll stick with mountain peak. But anyway, you need the coordinates there. So when you're using a mountain peak, when you look them up on Wikipedia, usually the coordinates go directly to the highest peak point. So you can use that for reference. And then there'll be a secondary website you can use to get your elevation using latitude and longitude. It'll get you the GPS elevation relative to those points. And that's all the information that you're going to need. So this website here called movabletype.co.uk, copy link. You're going to take your observer observation, latitude, longitude. You're going to enter this in first for your point. Now, this is for the building thing that I was looking into, I think. So this isn't, actually, this is for something else. But anyway, you enter your point here for point 1. Then you enter your peak here for point 2. Now, it's important you enter it in that order because that's going to output you a final bearing, which will be relevant for your hunt later when you try to track down a star to see what stars you have available to make your measurements with. And also, in addition to that, it's going to give you the distance. And it goes over various ways that it derives the distance. You got your Haversine, you got your midpoints, all kinds of different arc chords, chord lengths, etc. It does them all, right? You can, it's accurate. It gives you what you're looking for, right? It gives you that nice globe distance, right? I saw a Haversine in there. Is the globe hiding in there? Is there a globe in there? Anyway. Or are you just deriving a distance on a spherical coordinate system? Anyway, who knows? So what when you have this information, right, the distance and the final bearing, you're going to take that over, you're going to save all that, write it down. And then the next thing you're going to need is once you have your elevations, you can take the difference of those. Okay, so we should be able to move on now. Okay, so now that you have the necessary information, you're going to find a westward facing peak because you're going to be looking for stars that are going down into the, setting into the mountain, right? That are going to be occluded by it. Otherwise, you'll be doing star rises, which you could do, but it'll be significantly harder. So you're going to make sure that you have that, and then once you have all that, you hit up your boy's spreadsheet over here. And okay, so if you notice so far, we have a distance for 2 locations and elevations for 2 points, right? So observation point elevation and mountain peak elevation. We have a distance. Now you can come here and enter all the necessary information that we gathered so far. So using Mike's example for Pikes Peak, we take the 4,300 meters, we take, and then the elevation for 50.7 kilometers away is 2,074 meters. And the difference of that is going to give us 2,226 meters. And that's going to be what we're going to use to complete our triangle to get our angle prediction here for what the angle relationship would be for a star to be intersected at if you were to go here with that same angle with respect to that distance that you're deriving the angle to. So we come out with, based on these values, the distance away from the mountain peak and the mountain peak elevation difference, we get 2 degrees, 31 arc minutes for the raw calculation for what it would be. And then we have over here on the other side, we have the globe predictions. Now there's two ways that you could get to the globe prediction. You could use the arc sine of the distance over the radius, and that will give you 2 degrees and 4 arc minutes. And then you could apply celestial refraction to get 2 degrees and 19 arc minutes, which is what the glob predicts. Or you could do the method that Ruhif uses, and then you apply two arc minutes for terrestrial refraction. And then when you get to the mountain peak, you would then add your celestial refraction because you're making the celestial observation. So you add the 15 arc minutes. But either way we get here, the values are the same. And this will be important later when we go over how the globe difference only exists in these refraction corrections, because the timing of which this star is going to get occluded is going to correspond to the flat Earth angle, which is going to be extremely significant here moving forward. But if you notice, all we have here is our angle prediction so far and the distance to these locations. Now what we're going to do with this information is we're going to go to Stellarium. We're going to input the coordinates for the peak. So we're going to type, I already have it saved for us for convenience. So we type peak. It's going to take us over to Pike's Peak here. And then we're going to look up this star at this specific time. Now we happen to know the time because that's what Mike already did the long process for and found when it would intersect at this point just by letting the night sky play out. And then when you have a star at this point in your screen, once you have everything aligned with your grid here for 2 degrees and 30 arc minutes in that final bearing that we got earlier when we calculated the distance, we can look up at this angle right here and play out the night sky for different days and see when a star will appear here. Now, the star that appeared here was 39 Aquarii at the specific time on the 31st of January at 6:27:25 p.m. Mountain Time. So what we can do now that we're on the top of the mountain peak, remember when we're at the mountain peak, we haven't entered the distance. Stellarium doesn't know where we're making the observation from. All Stellarium knows is that we're at this mountain peak and we're looking for this star with refraction turned off. So when refraction is turned off, it defaults to the nautical almanac position, which is its quote unquote true position at this location and time. And then when you turn refraction on, you get 2 degrees, 47 arc minutes. It fluctuates a little bit. It was 46 earlier. That's weird. But anyway, and actually when you apply the proper M-bar correction, it goes down a little bit because of a problem with Stellarium or whatever. But that's only significant for the globe prediction, which isn't the timing for that isn't even going to be manifested. So it's largely irrelevant to, but anyway, that is what that value comes out to be. Now, we have this time here for this. The star is going to be here at this time, at this angle. Okay. Now, remember, we calculated everything we calculated this angle based off of what the elevation angle of this mountain peak would be based on us being 50.7 kilometers away. So if we're 50.7 kilometers away and we're looking up at 2 degrees and 31 arc minutes, and we're filming a star, we're taking a time lapse, and we see this star coming down, and it gets occluded. And then suddenly we can't see it anymore, right? We don't care where it's at or where it was, etc. Right? We can see it at a certain point at a certain time, and then suddenly we can't see it anymore. And if that time that we can't see it on the ground corresponds to this time that was predicted at this angle. I'm sorry, for this angle to be at this time, then that geometric relationship only works out if the Earth is flat. Now, the reason for that is because the globe Earth, right, relative to your position, predicts that the object is going to be tilted away from you due to 8 inches per mile squared with a ball of a radius of 3959, right? So when you take off the 200 meters of that elevation peak, that's going to be the difference where they physically predict that peak will be to intersect the star. So if the star's true position doesn't intersect at that time, which would be later than the time that was measured, so the time of 6 p.m., 27 minutes, 25 seconds, right? It would take more time because the star has to get lower for it to be physically occluded by this globe slant at this position, because stellarium doesn't know where we're at. So that's the only reason that this would work on the globe, is if it actually got occluded at the globe time, because you have two different predictions for the elevation of that star with respect to your refraction corrections. So you apply refraction here to get 219, whether or not you do the celestial refraction correction or you use Ruhiff's method, where you do a 2 pi situation and you get 2 degrees and like 14 something or 15, or no, I'm sorry, 217, you get 217 arc minutes. Then you add 2 degrees for terrestrial refraction. Either way you slice it, we've refracted and put this physical measurement here. This is based on what globe predicts from measurements taken during the day, right? So that star has to physically be blocked at that exact time. Otherwise, it's not physically there. So that's the significance of that. All right. Does anyone have any questions before we get into refutations or anything like that? Does anyone have any questions about this list?
I have one. What is the logic behind removing refraction from the flat Earth prediction? Because I mean, refraction exists, so if the flat Earth prediction is an accurate model, it shouldn't account for refraction.
If something isn't visible, is it refracted?
I mean, refraction is just the bending of light.
And would it be fair to say that if the light is no longer visible, that it's at some point, due to some reason, it's finally being physically obstructed by an object, and by which a point where refraction can't overcome the angle disparity between the source and the object? Is that fair? Like at some point, you're going to be able to block something, right, physically.
Well, here's the thing. If you think about it like this, and you said you didn't want to get into refutations. I just wanted to know the logic behind it. I didn't want to actually begin a refutation yet.
Well, this is the logic behind it, because
Okay.
if you agree that you can have something physically obstruct something, and then at a certain point when you can no longer see it, if you agree that, yeah, it's not being refracted anymore because I can't see it anymore, then that is the logic behind using the raw flat Earth elevation angle prediction, because all we did was calculate the angle based off of the distance and the elevation difference, right? We didn't measure anything.
So yeah, this is a really interesting presentation. I do wonder what guys like, does this guy debate people? Does Space Audits debate people? Because I would like to see the scientism rebuttal here. Like, what would a guy like Bryant Myers fire back with here? Let me catch up on some of the chat here. Welcome, Sandro. Vanessa. James Brown, quite the musician, in the chat here. Sam, welcome Sam. Quinn says, Bruce, I am working on a personal AI project to process logical fallacies. I am testing different open source models on a local server. Can you recommend me a good method framework to get me started? You mean in terms of like fallacies and definitions? Or the implementation of recognizing a fallacy? Because I think that'd be quite difficult. I'm working on my own AI for like a lie detector AI using micro expressions and vocal intonations, and I think that might be easier than I did, because with you'd have to audio process. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. That sounds really tough. That sounds like a tough project, Sam. That sounds really tough. But is it logicallyfallacious.com? There's a couple of lists of just master fallacies if you just want a list of all the fallacies. Bill says, I forget the guy's name, called the CT a body bag for the globe. Love that comment. Body bag. Oh, man.
right? We just calculated the raw what it would be.
Okay.
Now,
Now, I would disagree, but sorry, my dog is an idiot. I would disagree, but would you want me to do so when refutations start, or do you want me to state now?
oh, you can feel free, fire away. Fire
Okay.
well.
Let's imagine a scenario where the Earth is flat, okay, and you're looking through your theodolite and waiting to see when the star would be occluded by the peak. Okay.
With you
Now,
so far?
freeze the moment right there.
Okay.
Okay. And now imagine a change in refraction. It would be possible for refraction to change in such a way that you could then see the star.
Okay. So
It's not about seeing the star, though. It's about when it's not seen.
thank you, Beast.
Well, that's the point. Because if you can have different values of refraction even on a flat Earth and have different times at which the star could be occluded, that's the issue I have with the entire system.
So are you suggesting then that perhaps when this observation was made and the star got occluded, that it could have like there could be a time when it gets like refracted back up and you could see it again, then that would invalidate it?
I'm saying that based on the amount of refraction, the star could be occluded at different times.
Okay.
So that right there means that there's a conflating variable that's not being accounted for on the flat Earth model.
Hold on. Let's get you to agree that that is what the globe Earth predicts. That angle, 2 degrees 46 arc minutes. With
I haven't
refraction
done the math, but I'll take your word on it.
Okay. Well, then you.
Yeah, my whole reason for being here is I'm just trying to see if I can better understand the process being followed. Because I've been going through different documents trying to figure out how the celestial theodolite works so that I can better understand the mechanics of it. I think I do now. Thank you for the description you gave. So that's the reason that I'm sitting here thinking about these kinds of scenarios.
What kind of scenario are you describing? Because I asked you what you're trying to say. Are you saying that so it gets occluded at different times, yet the time corresponds specifically to its true position, where you don't even think that that's where it's at? That at the same time that it intersects with a physical calculation of what an elevation is based off of the difference between the elevations of two points. So,
well, like I said, I'm trying.
And then this was
to,
hold on. And this was
Sorry.
repeated with other stars, not only at this location, but at another location at 30.9 kilometers or 35.9 kilometers. So,
yeah,
the idea
right
that
now
Look at the sheer joy on this kid's face from the body bag comment that would live on in infamy for all time. All right, so let me get the rest of these comments here. Bill says, if something isn't visible, is it refracted? Oh, man. Well, see, yeah, whenever you use magic, that was, if anybody hasn't checked out the Flat Earth ChatGPT showdown that I did with ChatGPT, ChatGPT admitted that magically invoking without clearly delineated controls and variables accounted for, that's a major, like, that is such a white flag for the globe to just magically claim that ever-changing refraction that just so happens to match a flat Earth would always occur. I mean, I think globe earthers don't understand the level of cope that such a common is. It's kind of like just saying, oh, magic fixed it. Magic. Like, that is such a white flag in any kind of debate on this. It's weird. Dr. Bass Ackward says, if I draw a circle on the ground, can you draw a smaller circle around the outside of it? Welcome, Chilster Deluxe. Run Boston Bear says, Bruce Space Audits has debated. Search modern day debate Allen, and you'll see it there. Yeah, I don't think I logically analyzed any of his. Run Boston Bear says, Alan is a good friend and would chat with you live or on Zoom. He could cover any questions you had on Flat Earth or the Cell Theo. Yeah, I do want to do a Flat Earth roundtable. So I was thinking about having, again, some controversial figures, but I thought it'd be interesting to have like a combination of people. And I don't know if some of these have a problem with each other or not. Mark Sargent, Flat Earth Dave, Austin Whitsitt, of course, and I guess Alan would be excellent at addition as well. If anybody had a problem with those four, and then also Justin Johnson, he's not in here right now, but that would be interesting to have like a big panel of flat earthers for a fallacy-free discussion. Lore Master Cat says, Cell Theo is a great topic. Love for more people to look into it and make more observations. Oh, Space Audits in here. Did someone say hashtag Cell Theo? Oh, welcome, Space Audits. Okay, there you are. So, again, would you, Space Audits, have an issue? Do you have an issue with Mark Sargent, Flat Earth Dave, or Austin Whitsitt? Because I did want to do a Flat Earth roundtable. Fallacy-free roundtable. Sam Quinn says, you need my buddy Shane in the round table. Yeah, whoever wants to do it. I did want to have some of the bigger personalities in there just to see the interactions. Space Audit says, I'm cool with Whitsitt. The others are a pass for me. Any specific reasons? Because I did interview Mark Sargent and Flat Earth Dave. Both of them did not appear shill-like. I mean, there's standard shill behavior. And again, like, I've been studying conspiracy theories, logic and reason, micro-expressions, and psychology for many years. I'm not going to drop any credentials or spam any kind of credentials, logical fallacies, or appeal to authority fallacies. But I am simply not new to this stuff, and shills have a very specific behavior. Now, that doesn't mean they're not shills. That means they're either not shills, or there's some kind of high-level reverse psychology non-standard shills. Because shills like Alex Jones isn't going on podcasts with five subscribers like Flat Earth Dave is or Mark Sargent. Like, Alex Jones is not now and has not ever done like high school classroom Q&As or whatever on Zoom. So yeah, I mean, there's just certain behavior of shills, and Flat Earth Dave and Mark Sargent do not match the known behavior of shills. That was my observations, and they didn't get triggered at any questions I asked, and they didn't make any kind of demands for certain questions not to be asked. Shane St. Pierre in the chat says, ooh, what sort of roundtable are we talking about? A fallacy-free discussion on Flat Earth. Just through the history of Flat Earth, the current state of Flat Earth and science versus scientism, and where it's all going, in kind of like an enclosed discussion without any kind of, trolls or globe earthers fallaciously derailing conversations. And I'd be happy to do the same for a globe earth roundtable if there are any takers who are, who are going to be willing to have a fallacy-free discussion. But it seems more flat earthers are interested in logic and reason than globe earthers, which is curious. Joe Wright says, nothing wrong with Flat Earth Dave or Mark Sargent, both good people. Again, I don't know them personally, it's just their behavior was not shill-like in my interviews with them. If anybody hasn't checked those out, those are on the channel here, the Bruce McGuire channel, the home of Mindshock. Another question for Alan Space Audits here. If you could summarize, I know it's very difficult. This is a 3.5-hour video here. Do you have like a 1-paragraph summary with the main points on Cell Theo? Sandro says, "Come on, Bruce McGuire. You know Globers can't fart without a fallacy." Hey now, we haven't talked to all the Globers. I do have 2 PhDs that did agree to a fallacy-free debate. Again, schedule allowing, I am very, very behind, but that is on the agenda. Bill says, Alex got co-opted. He won't touch Flat Earth or a few forbidden topics. Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, Alex Jones could very well be a shill. He could have always been a shill, and he has very, very specific shill behavior. That doesn't mean he is a shill, but he does have shill-like behavior. Joe Wright says, Austin has to be in it. As long as he's in the round table, it will go well. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should try to do a one-on-one with Austin and a one-on-one with Alan here and a one-on-one with Shane first and then do the round table just to kind of maybe get everybody familiarized with each of them and their background and their methodologies and thought processes, etc. Shane says, fallacy-free discussion. Has such a thing ever happened with Globers? Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge. But like I said, I do have 2 PhDs that emailed me that agreed to the debate outline for fallacy-free debate. Sandro says, although Flatzoid is still a flat earther, he is finished with the topic. Not too familiar with Flatzoid. I think some people have mentioned him and sent some links. Maybe I've seen a little bit. Mila in the chat says, has anyone thought pyramids being aligned with a fixed horizon map that reflects the star position relative to the Earth? If the Earth were round, the horizon would not be possible. Is that a false dichotomy? I'm not sure. I believe the globe Earth rebuttal is... Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one with the pyramids, the celestial alignment of the pyramids, not just in Giza, but other pyramids as well. Les Xylophone in the chat. Been a while. Where have you been? Just visiting to say hey. Flat Bob says, I'm curious what the next Globe Killer topic will be. Sam says, 1v1 with Witsit, Allen, and Shane. That sounds like a great idea. Let's go. Yeah, I've been trying to... Yeah, I need to schedule something with Witsit, because I've wanted to do that one for a while. Not even necessarily... I mean, obviously, Flat Earth would be covered, but just covering logic itself. As Austin Witsit, in my opinion, possibly the best modern debater. With the most proficient grasp of logic and reason.
Not worrying right now. I'm not worrying about replication. And the reason I say that is if there is a conflating variable that is not being accounted for, then whatever is causing the results you're seeing, given that conflating variable, could also be impacting the other ones.
So you're just appealing to an unknown variable that may or may not be affecting.
I'm not
angle?
appealing to anything right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
so
right.
why
Okay.
you-
All right. No, you're good. You're good. It's all good. So we're gonna discontinue this line of reasoning. Thank you for your questions.
Yo, I think what might help is how long is your theodolite? How long is your celestial theodolite, Alan? Like how
Right.
big is it, do you think?
See, that's the other component of it too, right? At the timing, if those timings intersect, then, and I'm using the mountain as my crosshair, then my theodolite is 50.7 kilometers long. So the only way that
Right.
it gets occluded at that time anyway, right? The only reason that matches anyway to begin with is because the flat Earth prediction is where it's physically putting that mountain peak with respect to the elevation angle of that star at that time. Because Stellarium doesn't know where we did Mike's observation from. It doesn't know how to backwards engineer what to put it in the right spot. That's the significant.
Exactly.
That's why this triangle
Exactly.
works out. That's why when you guys move, and I don't mean, and I'm not speaking for you because I don't think I don't know how. Anyway, when people try to argue this and they move the observer to Mike's house and do the calculation for where the star is, and they say, "Well, it's in this position. That's where the
William
globe
says
predicts."
2 degrees 6
That's
arc minutes.
that
Yeah.
that's because the globe is doing 69 miles per degree, and changing all of that for the thing that doesn't matter. What matters is the timing that was measured that it actually got occluded. The only way that that's physically possible is if geometrically if this is parallel, if these two lines are parallel basically at this elevation. That's the only way.
Yeah.
And because the stellarium only knows the middle point, doesn't know the point to the right. So trying to account for refraction, or maybe if as a variable, as whatever, from the observer to the mountain is negated because we have a 50.7 kilometer theodolite starting at that mountain. So if anything, you can only use half of that refraction, and we can argue that.
So why
Yeah.
doesn't stellarium predict everything? All of the angles that stellarium predicts for this particular point in time. Why aren't they all correct?
Because it's not about
Uses
it's not about stellarium from Mike's house. Like if you went to Mike's house and put the observer there and then try to look at the star, you wouldn't be able to see it anyway because that's not the point.
Yeah, it would be different for both lads. Like it's not the application of what's being put forward in terms of how we're deriving the significance of the triangle that's being made with it.
Yeah, we don't have to throw out stellarium. You guys want to for some reason.
But
We're-
you're throwing out half
No,
of
we don't.
stellarium, now, aren't you?
No,
No, we don't.
no. Listen, stellarium agrees with the way that we're using it. And the reason it doesn't agree with the way that you need it to, even for where the measurement was taking place, is because the Earth is flat. Stellarium doesn't know where Mike's house is. These distances could have been anything. It's relative to the angle that you derive at that distance. That's what this shows. And that only works if it's a flat baseline all the way through. So when you misapply it and go to Mike's house and look at where it's at, yeah, it's going to tell you where different things that contradicted. You're going to be like, well, who's right? Well, how are you using it? You got to understand, stellarium never knew where we were at when we made the measurement, and it intersected at the same time. That's geometrically impossible on a globe. That's why everyone is now agreeing that the timing is fine, but they're trying to change the angle relationship to be
Exactly.
at Mike's house and say that, well, it's here, but it's not at the mountain peak. You guys are doing the inverse argument.
Yeah, so far the only refutations have said what if and why is stellarium wrong.
You guys need a different timing, geometrically speaking. Because if you're refracting here, right, we're not refracting here, we're not refracting here, right? We're consistent with our measurement. What's happening here, we refracted to get up to 219 to put this peak at this elevation angle to create this, to be intersected here at a time that's different from our prediction. So the globe, what happened here isn't even on the table. Right? I don't think
I guess for me, Alan, the key thing is you only have one measurement and one calculation from
No.
stellarium, right? So if you took a measurement from Pikes Peak and one from the house, then that would be more
No.
consistent to me.
No, that's
No,
what you
no,
need.
no,
You need
that's
that to
what-
calculate refraction.
And it also, that makes different predictions for the observer location. Remember, my theodolite crosshair is the mountain peak. My eyepiece is my eyes. My crosshair is 50.7 kilometers away from me. So geometrically, this would only align. My theodolite could only work, right, is if this baseline here is flat. So when you say, we could have two people confirm it, nope. That's not the issue at all. What we already did is we used an entirely separate mountain and distance and confirmed the same relationship. I turned my theodolite over to another mountain 35.9 miles away and did the same thing. So the proper use of the celestial theodolite and showing the angle relationship with the timing geometrically corresponding to these flat earth angles is perfectly fine for me, boys. I'm good. You guys are missing a timing and angle.
Yeah, but you're
That's
also
just
missing
incorrect.
the measurement of the second angle, right?
Nope.
That's Alan.
I've got a full
didn't
triangle
you-
here, my dude. See, you see this right here on the screen share? This triangle is completed because the star got blocked here, and we know it got blocked here because we observed it here 50.7 kilometers away. So my measurement is actually complete because I started with a prediction here on Stellarium, and I confirmed it from a location that Stellarium had no idea where I was going to be at. So my triangle is good. Your triangle over here, 219, which is anyone quit real quick, hands up. Anyone disagree that the globe predicts that the elevation angle of the peak is 2 degrees and 19 arc minutes? Anyone
Good
disagree?
question.
Correct. Correct. And the star gets occluded at 219.
Hold
The
on.
measurement was
Whoa,
218.
Rue, your
whoa.
mic
Hold on,
is like coming in
First,
horrible.
your mic.
Is
Your
it?
mic. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so
Now-
loud.
Now, at 219, when it gets occluded for the guy on here, according to globularity, right? If you're on the peak at Stellarium,
Okay.
right? If you're on the peak at Stellarium, you're gonna with your refraction correction on, you're gonna be at 246. So you have two different predictions here that aren't manifested, whereas mine is only works if the timing is the same with respect to this angle to the if the angle to the star to the peak match the angle to the peak to the observer. That's the only way my
Someone
timing
on public speak to check the value.
No, just lower it a lot.
Hang on.
Yeah, your boost is like your gain. Sorry, your gain is like really high.
Hang on. Hold on. Voice and video. Okay, I'll turn that. Is that better? Bit better?
Yeah, it's a bit
Cool.
better.
All right.
Yeah.
No one's on the peak to verify that number from Stellarium, right? But you're claiming this is not predicted by the globe. Is that correct?
Ooh, are you disagreeing with the nautical almanac? You
No.
don't think that so when Stellarium says that it's at 231 at the peak here when we're looking
Yeah,
at it,
we're not on the
230
peak.
Yeah, we are. My theodolite
we're
crosshair
not.
is on the
No,
peak.
that-
Yeah, it is.
Hold on.
That's
Talking
what's
about the
blocking.
globe.
That's what blocking
The
the star.
globe prediction. What is the globe
Oh.
prediction from Mike's house? 219, right?
219
From
Yes.
the
For
from
the
Mike's
el-
house to the peak.
From his house.
for the elevation
Mike's house.
to the peak. Yep.
219. And what is Stellarium's prediction from his house to the star at that time?
It's
206.
yeah,
No,
206.
219.
John just told us.
No,
earlier.
219.
Is that with or
We
without
will
refraction?
incorporate. Of course, it includes refraction.
Okay,
because
John.
we have an atmosphere.
He might have given me the not correct. But anyway.
Right.
But anyway,
So
that
the
time
globe prediction. The globe prediction for the mountain is 219. The Stellarium prediction for the star is 219, and it was measured by Mike at 218.
Ooh,
How
so-
does that contradict the globe?
Ooh, really bad because here we are on Stellarium at the mountain peak at 231.
We're not-
Listen, guy, we're at 231 on the mountain peak. This is where the star is at, right?
I don't care.
Now, no, listen, I know you don't care, but this is why it's significant, and this is why you keep deflecting. So here we are at the peak, 231 for the physical location in agreement with the nautical almanac as derived by flat Earth elevation angles, which we're going to show here by saying that in order for this angle relationship, which we derived based off of an angle being from an observer 50.7 kilometers away from this mountain peak, in order for these two to intersect at the same exact time, right, for the physical location, for this to work out, the timing would have to match. And guess what, Ruhif? It matches here. It doesn't match at the time that puts the star at 2 degrees and whatever you said.
Yeah, so this is very interesting here because Alan is actually trying to account for variables and not spam false cause, logical fallacies, etc. So a lot of times globe earthers will claim, oh, it's refraction. But what they won't do is what Alan is doing right here. If it weren't refraction, what would it look like? So if the Earth is a globe, what would it look like? If it was flat, what would it look like with and without refraction, and how much refraction? Like, this is all basic logic. I can't believe we even have to go over that. But again, whenever globe earthers are debating, they can't process the basics here. Let me catch up on some more comments here. Joe says, how do globers explain shooting stars? They always go downward, never one recorded upward. If sphere, they'd be going in all directions. Yeah, that's a good one. I think, if I recall, wasn't there a video of one going diagonally somehow? But again, that, yeah, like 99.9999999% of all of them appear to be going downward, which is curious. It's also curious that in all of modern history, since the advent of video cameras, why wouldn't in the past, I don't know, century or more. Now, obviously, earlier on, not everybody has a cell phone with a camera, but what if, they can't, and in all the observatory now, all the observatories in the world recording 24/7, is there not a single video where there's more than one shooting star? One of them's going maybe up, one of them's going down. Could that happen after all of these countless hours of 24/7 recording in the past at least 2 decades or whatever? I don't know. That's a good question. Les Xylophone says, just living on the fringe of society and trying to live free. Shane says, the method was devised to make refraction a prediction instead of a post-diction. And all they do to use it has always been used. Very telling. Yes, post hoc, the classic post hoc logical fallacy, or the Bigfoot mailbox fallacy, as Craig of Flight the Flat Earth has created. If you predict Bigfoot left mail in your mailbox, if you go check the mail, or you predict that Bigfoot will leave it at noon, and you go check it after noon, and it's there, that means only Bigfoot could have brought it. According to Craig of Fight the Flat Earth. That was his main argument. Welcome, Ethan W. Shane says, this was a free-for-all presentation in Earth Awakening's Discord. There are several globers scrambling to explain it right now. Joe Wright says, Bruce needs more advertising. Logic and reason doesn't exist any longer. Many of his videos, especially on debates, should be seen by millions. Yeah, the original Mindshock channel got 40,000 subscribers. I was shocked. I thought maybe 10,000 would be as high as it goes because, yeah, most people simply are not interested in logic and reason. Look how the average normie gets triggered whenever you even bring up a fallacy or flag a fallacy. Also, if you look at anything mainstream, look at any mainstream news shows, talk shows, debates anywhere, like Piers Morgan, one of the kings of fallacies, it's just nothing but fallacy spam. Martin says, Motherwell, Scotland, clocking in. Carmichael says, we should see shooting stars coming up from the horizon. Space has no direction, yet we never have. Run Boston Bear says, at the start of all this, our globe friends were all about it. Now that the data is getting tighter and not looking good for the globe, they are attacking. Martin says, Clown World. Hiya, Bruce, big fan. Thanks, Martin. Let's continue this video for a bit. But yeah, feel free to drop other questions. This is not going to be a deep dive into Cell Theo. So, yeah. Welcome, Lord Racer.
Two degrees and 19.
Okay, the globe prediction does not do stupid shit. Hang on. The globe prediction does not do stupid shit like put the observer somewhere where he's not. So the globe prediction, 219 for the mountain, 219 for the star, and it was measured by Mike at 218, which is pretty close.
Number one.
It does not contradict the globe.
Number one, your
So-
gain is still affected. It's still messed up. So maybe
So if I
you might hold on one second.
Sorry.
You might be too close. Number two, when you say it doesn't do stupid shit like that, that's not stupid shit. This is a meticulous process and prediction showing that the elevation angle derived using just plain trigonometry corresponds to the true position of the star in the sky at the specific time to be intersected to complete this angle relationship for refraction to not be affecting it anymore because we can no longer see the star. Now, you said that Stellarium doesn't do stupid shit like move the observer where it doesn't, where he isn't. Okay. Now, I told you my theodolite is 50.7 kilometers long. I'm using the mountain peak as my crosshair. Okay. The measurement timing would only correspond. My theodolite could only work if that true position was represented by a flat baseline. So when you have the observer at different locations, right? If you want to play that game, right? When you go to the peak, you predict the star is in a different spot. Because here we are at the peak, 246 with refraction on. So it can't be in different locations if this elevation peak is intersecting with it on a globe, dog. You don't have a timing.
Okay.
You're trying to take my timing.
The very simple questions are: is the globe prediction to the mountain from his house? Is that prediction 2 degrees 19 minutes? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Is the predicted star occlusion time from his house at that time? Is that angle 2 degrees 19 minutes from his house?
No.
Yes. And did he measure 218, which is very, very close?
No. It got occluded at 231.
Hang on. Did you say yes or no?
No, I said no to the occlusion timing. It got occluded at the time that corresponds to 2 degrees and 31 arc minutes because that's the angle. No.
According to Stellarium.
Yes.
Stellarium.
So are you throwing out
according to the
Stellarium?
Nautical Almanac, are you throwing out the Nautical Almanac in Stellarium? Because
Stellarium, at that time, from his house, it's 219.
We're not going from his house. You keep moving it back to his
like I
house.
said, like I
Listen,
said, I'm not doing stupid shit like moving the observer to somewhere where the observer's not. On a globe.
That's exactly what
in
you're doing.
reality,
Dude, this
I'm
guy.
putting the observer
That's exactly what you're
where
doing.
he is.
Dude,
I'm
stop.
putting the observer where he is and asking Stellarium at what angle is that star at that time. And I do that and I get 219, correct? Or 218 and a half.
Purposely
Incorrect.
refusing to engage with it and
Okay,
only
so-
beating up a straw man, or is it by accident?
I'm asking
Ruhif,
whether it contributes to the globe.
Ruhif, when you
I'm
put
not
the
an idiot.
observer on the peak where we're using our theodolite, where we derived our prediction, where we derived the physical prediction, what does it say? That's where the
I'm
contradiction
not
at. Yeah,
concerned.
yes. That's where you
You
need to
should
be
be
concerned
concerned.
because the only way
Yeah.
this triangle works is if the earth is flat. So you need to directly be concerned with this. I'm not concerned with why it doesn't match up on the globe, dog. You're a globe earther. You need a different timing. Your timing doesn't correspond to the true position of the star. Only with refraction to get up here to make a flat Earth prediction. So this is the significance of what I was talking about earlier to keep in mind for this celestial refraction versus the terrestrial refraction. So Ruhif here, terrestrial refracts to 219 to put his physical observation here to make it here. Right now, when you add the 15 arc minutes that you're supposed to for this peak, it puts it above it. So you have conflicting intersection times. You can't have, yes, you do, because you're not dude.
Do you want me to show you a screenshot from Stellarium saying that the star is at 218 and a half?
Yeah, where's your
Right.
observer? Where's your observer?
Yeah, at his fucking house where he's observing,
Okay,
you idiot.
so you're not making it analogous. So
Okay,
I
I understand. Listen, I understand what you guys are doing. I think what you guys are doing is rubbish. Stellarium gives you the angle.
Dude, fix
based
your
on
mic.
Where you are.
Your mountain couldn't physically occlude it there at that time, but the true
Yes, it
position,
does.
the true position of the star is at 2 degrees and 31 arc minutes. That is what is occluding it at that angle. Sorry, dude.
I
Yes.
posted 2 slides in the chat. All right, this is what's happening. At 6:27 at 25, the curved path of the light is going over the top of the mountain. 6:27:26, that curved path gets blocked by the mountain. You're still looking at the same angle from
You're
the
being so
observer.
disingenuous right now, bro.
Fuck off, the cunt.
Where's
Yeah,
the
see?
dude?
Look, you hear this guy?
every time you get like that, like that's
And it's
not
because he's trying to basically put it into a straw man argument. He's arguing
No,
against an argument
you're
that we're
trying
not
to straw
making.
man the
Yep,
globe
exactly.
and calling me
no,
dishonest, right? Which is why I called you a stupid cunt.
no,
As
no,
Liliana.
no. Listen. Stop trying to invoke emotional reaction out of everyone to derail
Well,
this.
then don't call me dishonest,
Keep it.
and I won't do that. Okay.
All right,
Okay,
oops.
then
Dude,
prove
listen,
your honesty right now.
Ruhif.
Why are you putting the observer back at Mike's house when that's not the analogous way to do it?
Right, because I'm talking about what the globe predicts. All right. The globe.
Okay, what is the globe?
Normal people. put
Okay,
the
can I ask
observer
you a
where the
question?
observer is.
Can I ask you a question? What
Sure.
does the globe predict for an observer on top of the mountain looking at the star? Be honest.
247 or something like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool.
I think I'm going to leave it here for now before I do the deep dive later, but this is really all that is needed in any kind of discussion. What would it look like with and without curvature? What would it look like on a flat plane? What would it look like on a globe Earth? And also, let's not exclude other possibilities like a convexing plane, like a contact lens type plane. So you could still have curvature and it not be a globe. A lot of globe earther goofs, again, they're so stuck in false dichotomy logical fallacies. They can't comprehend that curvature does not prove globe, even if there were curvature. So, yeah. All right. Anybody got any final points here? Run Boston Bear says, another detail to note, Dr. Mike has a PhD in computer science, started this journey, a globe believer. He's now a flat earther because of his findings. Yeah, very interesting. Look, not 100% of quackademics are mentally weak. Most of them are, but some of them can overcome the indoctrination and look at things objectively, logically, and neutrally. Now, I don't know if he did or he didn't, or exactly how his journey unfolded, but yeah, that's why hasty generalization and false dichotomies are logical fallacies. So yeah, let's, this is a live Q&A, so I don't want to just be on one topic the entire time. Let's do a couple other ones. Let's spice this up, diverse this up. Run Boston Bear says, looking forward to the deep dive later. Thanks for touching on it today. Yeah, no, that's very interesting. I mean, that is exactly how shape of the earth discussion should look like. So props to Alan there for being meticulous and sticking to the scientific method and attempting not to fall for any logical fallacies. Big Daddy Dunk Nugs says, what happened to the Mandela Effect playlist? It was removed for copyright, currently working on it. Let me see the timeline here. I appealed it, so the Mandela episode should be, I mean, I have it backed up anyway, but it should be, let's see what the timeline is here. It should be back up in a few days unless it's not approved. Let's see here. Yeah, so yeah, a couple more days, I believe it should be back if it's all approved and all that. Flat Bob says, let's talk about high frequency radio wave propagation. I mean, not to be blunt, but I mean, isn't that kind of open and shut? I mean, we can go over it. What is the... I mean, what is the globe earther position that they bounce? They bounce off the ionosphere to magically end up where they would have ended up anyway on a flat earth. I believe that's what they say. Or either bounce or refract from the ionosphere. Ethan W. says, has anyone heard from Austin Whitsitt? What happened with that whole saga? What saga? The Antarctica saga, or is there something new? Austin's had a number of videos since then. including the Jaren debate, which I did part 1. I gotta do part 2 of that soon. Flat Bob says, let's talk about the Battle of the Beams. We went over that. Was that Tim Pool? I believe. Did Austin mention that on Tim Pool? And we went over it then. Which is, yeah, that definitely needs its own deep dive. Electronic warfare in the Second World War. I need to do a deep dive into that. I did the overview on the Tim Pool episode very briefly. I mean, I really need to do some serious research on the Battle of the Beams and all the tech behind it. Because, yeah, World War II, the World War II technology rabbit holes are crazy. And World War I technology as well. There's a, yeah. Actually, let me see if I got this episode back. Let's see here. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Oh, wow. So UFOs, I did, let's see, does this premiere? Oh, wow. I still have to bring up, I have a backed up episode on the ancient China UFO, 1060 AD. And then there's also World War I UFOs. Let me get that back online. So, okay, I'll make a note to get those. Those episodes are still not back online from the Mindshock channel, so. Okay, all right, hold on a second. Let me get that on the agenda. Yeah, World War I UFOs. Those are quite fascinating, too. There was supposedly some kind of dogfights with UFOs in World War I as well. So, yeah, WW1 and 2 technology require a lot of research for deep dives. Because it's not just about the Battle of the Beams. It's about, like, the development. Like, how far back did that was the development of that tech? Lord Racer says, ask grounded extracts about Witsit. What's the context there? Rufus, if anybody follows the Rufus2688 account on Twitter, see a hilarious meme posted here. Let me put it on the screen. Oh, man. It's a funny one. We have the tech to autopilot machines on other planets, but not the tech to self-pilot people to destination here on Earth. I mean, a lot of these could just, again, these are grifts, like, whether they really are piloting tech on other planets or it's just Devon Island. Regardless, it'd be a grift either way, because they're taking tons of money. And then preventing technology, impairing technology, like the, you know, tires that never go flat were invented before the regular rubber tire. Because obviously, it's big business, you know, to impair and impede technological progress for money. So it's not, like, really that shocking, but... All right, any final points here? Let's take some final questions here to round out this live Q&A, 9th edition, on the subject of Flat Earth, which is not about the conclusion of Flat Earth, but argumentation. And notice who gets triggered. Like, Flat Earthers don't get triggered when it's not about conclusions. But why do Globe Earthers get so triggered when it's not about conclusions? Taking final questions in the chat. Brenda debates up in here. Is this the Craig alt? Earth isn't flat. Is it a convexing plane? Is it a virtual reality projection with no defined shape? It was right on cue, too, about the triggering about conclusions. Right on cue. Truth Connexus with RG the artist says, check out the UNT digital library from NACA to NASA. What about the Nazca lines? Nazca, NASA, all coincidental? Brenda Debate says it's trivial to prove it's not flat, which is why you're here humiliating yourself, because it's trivial. Do you always dedicate every waking moment to trivial things? What does that say about you? Like, let's say you're right about the shape of the Earth and it's trivial to prove it. What does it say about you and how you utilize your time? Is it mental disabilities? Is it just mental health issues? Like, let's say you're correct about everything. What does it say about you spending your time online getting triggered by trivial things and dedicating countless hours to it? Rethink Inc. says, ladies and gentlemen, delusion has just entered the building. Ethan W. says, all the other shills have the weekend off, so they paged Brender Masturbates to come before and ruin everyone's day. Sandro says, Brendan doesn't even know the shape of what's in his pants. Brenda Debate says, you don't know how I utilize my time. So you're not in here right now on trivial, what you consider trivial topics? So we're all just imagining you typing in the chat here, spending your time. So I guess it is mental disability. So, like, if you're that illiterate and, you know, you're not even on preschool English level, like, let's say you're right about the shape of the Earth and it's trivial to prove it. You're clearly not even on a basic preschool English level if you think everyone is hallucinating that you're in here typing right now. Ethan W. asks, have you had the bottom surgery yet, bro, or are you that committed to your psychosis? I mean, it's kind of funny, like, Brenda Debate's proving the point here. Like, let's say the Earth's a globe and it's trivial to prove it. What does that say about Brenda being in here right now? Flat Bob says, you spend all of your time waking existence trolling and stalking because Flat Earth is so trivial. Brenda Debates with the classic straw man. The fact that I'm here now doesn't imply I spend all my time here. No one said it did. But you're spending a certain period of time on something that trivial. Like, how much time do you spend, like, trying to debunk ghosts or Bigfoot? If it's not, I didn't say that you said that was trivial, but, you know, there's many trivial things that people consider trivial. Like, how many people spend any amount of time? You're clearly spending some time here. Notice how you have to immediately go to the logical fallacy of people trying to imply that you're spending all your time here. Ethan W. said he needed some cortisol. Oh, man. Sandro says you're always begging to get on live panels. Oh, man. Brenda, you're clearly spending a certain amount of time, right? Is your life that pathetic? Like, you really have nothing meaningful, that you'd rather, you spend X percentage, I'm not claiming to know what that percentage is, on something supposedly trivial and easy. I mean, wouldn't you rather spend that time doing something more fulfilling in life? Bill says this was a good one, Bruce. It's nice to have people like Brenda come in here and prove all the points about scientism, about the Dunning-Kruger effect, the basic psychology of coincidence theorists, scientism, cultists, bootlickers, the mental weakness, the English deficiency, like all the issues with normies Brenda's highlighting here. So anybody watching and listening can get a clear demonstration. So that's always helpful. But yeah, let's do one more. Let's do one more question. Welcome, Richie. Let's do one more question here to round out this episode. Again, big thanks to Brenda for proving all the points here. And yeah, I mean, if there is no other questions, that's cool. I'll probably be doing another chill stream generic live Q&A or something of that nature. Next one. Some entertainment, no doubt. Maybe some 80s and 90s stuff. Keep it light. Flat Bob says, let's do angular resolution limit. Yeah, that's a good time. Brenda again spamming English illiteracy. I didn't say you spend an inordinate amount of time. Where'd you hallucinate that from? I said you spent X percentage amount of time, more than 0. So, yeah. Okay. Justin Johnson in here. New avatar. Yeah, angular resolution limit. That's a great one. The real quick point on that is, put a dot on a piece of paper and hang it across the room. If you don't see the dot, does that mean it dipped below the floor horizon? Or is it simply too small to see? I mean, that's such a basic 101, and again, a lot of globe earthers, like Brenda, probably can't grasp that. A lot of globe earthers just do not comprehend that. Brenda says, notice that Mindshock never leaves his echo chamber. What echo chamber? Anybody's free to come in. You're in here. Anybody's free to come in here. I've actually joined a few other lives, some true crime ones on other channels, live chat when I have some time. But yeah, I just don't have a lot of time, so. I'm also not into stalking like you are, so yeah, I don't just go around random channels and hate watch like you do. Obviously, if you had something fulfilling in your life, you wouldn't do that. So yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for your mental health, man. I hope things get better for you. Yeah, I never stated exactly how much time. I said X percentage. You don't know what X means? No surprise. Nobody said angular resolution caused obstruction. Again, try to keep up on a basic English level here. I know it's difficult for you. Maybe try a tutor, preschool English tutor. Flat Bob says, much love, fam. This was a good one. I can't wait to get more logical analysis. Fallacies. Ethan W. says, Bruce, I saw a cool thing where all objects in light shape in a circle were observed from increasing distances. Could be a cool topic demonstrating the sun, moon, and stars might not be circular. Do you have a link to that by any chance? That would be cool. Yeah, no, there's definitely some very interesting light phenomenon going on. That's why false cause is a logical fallacy for a reason. Like, usually the scientism cultist goofs are the ones hallucinating. They know that they know the reason for everything. And then they usually stack post hoc fallacies on top of that. So, yeah, this was fun. This was fun indeed. Hope everybody enjoyed another edition of the Mindshock podcast, live Q&A edition. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. If you want to help support the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Check the link in the description. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share. Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Catch you guys next time.